So, here's what we're doing today. We're going to go into weapons and armor and how you upgrade them and what perks are, what the mods are, how you upgrade a weapon, and what the mods are, like what these do, what Infuse does. Though I've showed you before how to work that one. Kind of go through all this, both on weapons and on armor, because it's pretty important. And if you don't understand this part of the gameplay later on when you get into more difficult areas, this can screw you over pretty hard. So, first off, weapons. All weapons have perks. You know, he's got these things. And some of them, they all do different things. So, depending on the role, on now exotics get the same ones, but legendary and stuff, they're random. So you get different roles on what they can do. So on this one, I can choose between the two of Impulse MS5 and Flash HSF. And this one increases range and slightly increases handling speed, and this one increases range but decreases handling speed. And if you look over to the right, you can see the range goes up, but the handling goes down if I equip this. Also switches the scope. So when I switch this, you can see that the range over here will go down with red, and the stability will go up, or I'm sorry, the handling. And once I switch it like that, so see that went up, that went down. Ricochet versus high caliber. So this slightly increases the range, and this one increases stability and slightly increases range as well. So if you look, because this only slightly increases the range, it doesn't show anything different because this one also slightly increases range. So the range will stay the same, and the only thing you're going to see is the stability go down on this because it doesn't have the increases stability. There's also the perk shots from this weapon knocks the target back farther. So they're going to kind of, like kind of get hit back and go, like stumble back a little bit. This one, on the other hand, ricochets. So when you shoot, it's going to ricochet off walls and different things. Kind of neat if you're in a cave. Um, all these are different things that you can just choose. And then, of course, these are also rolled, but as you can see, you can't choose, so you just kind of see what it does. So this one increases accuracy, stability, and handling when you're crouched. And this one grants a short period of increased stability and accuracy on the first trigger pull. Or you can just tap, because that's why it says tap the trigger, because tap it because it will just increase the stability every time you tap it. This over here are kind of the trackers, so you can disable this. This you only get once you get up to, like, I think it's like 8 or 9 in the weapon uh, mod level. When you upgrade and all this does is enemies defeated. So like this one, if you kill PvP or Crucible opponents, it'll track it. It'll show you how many people you've killed just in PvE or enemies in general. And then you can just turn it off if you don't like seeing that. So how you get this is to increase this. This is how you get a Masterworks. You have to go to 10 to get a Masterworks. It starts at level 1, and each time you go up, it gives you different things that you have to use to craft. So legendary shards, enchantment cores, 5. Depending on how much you need depends on how high the level is. So when it first starts out from 1 to 2, all you use is a little bit of glimmer. From 2 to 3, it goes glimmer and legendary shards. Then I think it's 4 or 5, it switches to legendary shards and enchantment cores, and it just increases how many you have to use all the way up to 10. So why do you want to do this? Well, it increases some things like 9 is handling, and it remarkably improves the stats filled with a kill tracker. It increases the tier to forge a masterwork item. So what happens when you forge a masterwork item? I'll show you that in just a little bit, but I want to go through the perks, and then I'll come back and show you exactly the difference in what that does. And then finally over here on this, the mods. Now these are a little different from like shaders and consumables, because these you can actually, we're not applying, and I got that, and then I can apply this, and I can do that as many times as I want, as long as I have the glimmer for it. But as far as I can tell, it's always 500 for applying a mod to a thing. And these, as long as you have the requirements, or basically if it's down here, you can apply it to the weapon, and they just do different things. So this one gives that symbol for shield piercing, so I can go through barriers and versus those champions, as it says. This one is just, it deals extra damage against bosses, powerful enemies, so you know, like the yellow health enemies. This one gives a radar returns faster as soon as you stop looking down the sights. And this one, the weapon gains better target acquisition. So it kind of is like more of an helpful aim assist, I guess you could say. I keep this one because that ends up being very useful in the higher of the Nightfalls and whatnot. And sometimes you actually run across these on planets, so I always keep this because that's my favorite. And you do one different. So I want to show you, like, this one and this weapon is technically the same weapon, but if you look at the perks, they're different. This is the same perk, but this is not. I had ricocheted bullets on the other one, but this one I can have the same perk on the top, which is the high caliber rounds, which knocks the target back when you shoot them. Or I can do this one, which is fast reloading. I love faster reloads because I'm so used to bow and arrows, so reloading to me is really weird. So I always go for faster of that. And this also has different traits here. So this one happens to also have firmly planted the crouched one. So like that one's the same, that one's the same. These two the same, that's the same, that's the same. But this was rolled different and this was rolled different. This one's pretty neat too. If you attack a enemy that matches the shield of the energy, which would be blue shields and arcs, which I'll get into that later on. But if you match blue shields with blue energy, it then will explode and disorient other opponents as well, not just him, which can come in super handy when fighting crowds. So that's a pretty sweet perk actually. But if you look down here, this gun is not as high as level. So it's only got a 3 on the upgrade. To increase it, see this one still needs Glimmer and a Legendary Shard and an Enchantment Core. So just to show you, I apply it. See, it went up to 4. And then this one, and you can continue going up. And if I go up far enough, let me see. If I go up far enough, there it is. Now I have these so I can track. So now I just got this so I can just track how many people I kill or whatever with it, because it now has that in it. So, and I don't have a mod equipped to this. So instead of, say for some reason I don't want this one, instead I could apply that. And of course the infusing, since this one's at 1049, I could infuse any of these weapons as well. Now, looking at this one real quick, because that's the one I was on. If you look, you can kind of, when it highlights over, it shows you what you've chosen for perks and your mod. So the major spec versus like the anti-barrier rounds. And this one shows the shield disorient versus the tap the trigger. So you can kind of go through it quick, but if you don't remember what those are, you can always right click into them and then read it. And it always helps out to know what those are. Now, what's a masterwork versus not a masterwork in this? This, see that gold trim means it's a masterwork. It also like will shine up on the top, and it gives you a little bit of a spec uh, advantage in one of the. It'll give you an advantage in one of these. Now, if you can tell, that's masterwork, but this isn't, because the gold trim will always tell you if it's a masterwork. So you can, I'll show you real fast with this one. As you can see, it's not got gold trim, and there's no advantage over here. But if I do this and apply it, you get the masterwork appearance. It now shows this is a little masterwork, and my handling now has gold because that is because it's a masterwork. So the handling just went increased as well. So it's nice. It's always good to increase up as far as you can and try to get a masterwork, especially if you like it. And now it has a gold trim around it, unlike this one. So this one's the masterwork, this one's not. That basically works on this side too, with these. Now, if I were to use this, the Ascendant Shard, with this, I can make this also a masterwork. I don't have to. And depending on the armor, some you can do, some you can't. I believe it might be the chest that takes like 3 Ascendant Shards. Nope, I guess all of them only in one. But why would you upgrade armor, and what does that do? This is a little bit different. So this is how you upgrade your armor, and what it does is it increases your energy. So let me show you. This one's only got 3 energy. So if I want to upgrade, and so since it only has 3, and if it takes 2 legendary and glimmer, and same concept is you upgrade, it costs more for crafting or upgrading. So I upgraded it to 4. Now I have 4 energy slots. What are these energy slots? This is where the mods really come into play, because the weapon mods don't really use energy, so it's not that big of a deal. These, on the other hand, do. So how you read mods is you see this 1 that uses 1 of your energies. It kind of highlights over it if you look up at the top as well. If you use this one, it uses 3 energy. So I only have 1 energy left if I want to put multiple mods. So if I were to put this on, I could also come here and put this 3 on, and now I'm maxed out, and I can no longer put any more mods on. So it doesn't cost to take them off, and though I'm wasting glimmer, it's not a big deal, just for showing. But there's also one other thing, the energy type. So on armor, you can switch your energy type, and depending on what you want, so you can either reset it to its base form, which only uses the upgrade module, or you can keep your energy level where it's at, but as you can see, it uses the upgrade module and other things as well. So it can be kind of costly depending on what you want to do. So you might want to choose this before you upgrade this, and kind of have that set on what you want for energy types. And then after you do that, why would you choose like what energy type? What does that matter? That actually matters in the mods. If you look down here, this has a flame. That flame means this can only be modded onto a flame type energy armor. So if I switch this to arc or something, which I don't have a lot of legendary shards, so I don't want to. I'll show you on a different piece. But if I were to switch it, then that mod will go away, and I might have some that have void or arc type that come on here that I can use. And mods are the one things that you can use over and over, and they'll do different things. Each of these mods do something different. And depending on what they are and where they are, depends on what kind of mod you pull into. So, like this is a general armor mod, so this will be for all armor mods. Like, if it's an armor piece, it's going to have this, because this is a general armor. This is the helmet armor, so only helmets will have these mods. And then finally, the Dawn armor mod, which is the type of armor you're wearing, will have what you can put in this. Now, some of this will come into play with like similar mods as well. Like some you might not be able to have these, but you might. And just depending on what it does. So like say I equip this, which these are charged with light, and that is so important later on. It helps out a lot because so like if I get an orb of light, I can be charged with light. That's a little tricky, but I'll show examples of charged with light in a different video because but for the basis of it, if you get charged with light, you do a little more damage and you can it brings up your defense just slightly, but that it's so little that you're not going to notice too much. The big one is when you combine that mod with another one like this one. So greens are to charge and yellow are to discharge basically. And like if you have a high energy fire, it uses when you're charged with light, it'll use that stack, but you increase how much you attack big. Like there's this one, and I think there's like a grenade one on some of them. There's a sword, and so you can use these in counterbalance with these to really do damage. But say you have no charged or you don't know what an orbital light, you can switch it with other things like this one. If you break the same shield type, or if you finish a combatant, it'll use some of your super, so you can't use. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, you charge up on your super a lot, and you'll get charged with light, and that way you can continue and just by pulling off a finisher. Plus the same thing, one, and now I still have room for this, and I can do that one, or I can do one of each on each one and stack them up. So this is where you get really big customization. Now, that was just an example, but like here's one of mine. So this is arc. So like this helmet was flame, and so there was a flame mod here, and then I believe there's one in here. Yeah, I'll just remove it so you can see it. So it's down here. If I wanted to use it, and I could put that on the helmet, and that's helmet only for flame. Now, because this is flame and this is not, I won't have that choice in here. See? But what I do have are different mods. See these arc mods? They use 2 energy, but they're different, and so you might want to experiment around, or even and just kind of like figure out what kind of mods you want. And it's like this. See, even in this side, there's arc charged, arc dispel. There's the sword one that I was just referring to. This one, what is this? Gives you a powerful overshield when you do your finisher, and it consumes a charged of light, but you get an overshield, so you can run around with an extra shield. So I mean, that's pretty dope right there too, to have that. So there's a ton of little things that you can do differently depending on what you have. Void will do something different, and as you can see, because this is a level 9, it uses bigger things like cores and prisms, and if I wanted to upgrade, I needed an Ascendant shard to max it all the way out. So I mean, I can show that one with the Ascendant, but I would rather do, see, which one would I rather do? I like the chest. We'll do this one, and this is Void. So again, the Void, 1 energy, so it consumes 1, and if you add these up, 4 plus 3 plus 1 plus 1 equals 9 energy. So I have all my energy slots used up, and you can see right here I'm using a Void type. So just for fun, I'll also show you when you do this will basically make it a kind of like a Masterwork armor, but it doesn't just it doesn't just make this 10. If you look over to the right, over here, if you look, you'll see all the stats jump up by 2. Everything jumps up by 2 when you get it at full 10. So a lot of times, if you have a really cool armor piece that you love, if you do it, now everything gets +2. It's now a masterwork, and again, you get that gold trim over it. So technically now I could switch this with this one or something different. So it just depends on what you want to do. These like are the base, and when you can put different ones, but there are some of them like this one, the increased strength, discipline, and stuff. That is how you increase these in general to get to the higher tiers. So like my grenade is technically a tier 5. So it only takes 59 seconds for it to cool down before I can throw another grenade. So like if you love throwing grenades, you may want to put in your mods all. You would go to the base, the general, and you would go right here where the little grenade one is, and put that in. Because if you look over onto the right, you can see my discipline increases by 10 when you put in one of these. And each of these right here, these mods are usually in any. And by the way, even exotics can be increased up to top notch. So like, except exotics take a little more. So if you look, the ascendant shards, I need 3 of them rather than just a regular 1. So that can be pretty expensive really fast. Especially since ascendant shards are one of the hardest pieces to get. But I wanted to just show you like, hey, this is how you do the mods. And this can be a little more complicated, but once you start learning it, you can totally experiment around. You can have a lot more fun with it. And your gameplay gets a lot bigger because now there's a lot more strategy into it that you want to do and how you want to play. So like, say you're all about using your super. You love to go into super mode. Like in my case, it would be like using Thor's hammer and running around and blowing stuff up. You would want this probably as high up as you can get. I'm only in tier 8, but you could get it higher. As you can see, tier 9 on it will show it's 352, so it takes 3 minutes and 52 seconds versus the 4 minutes on tier 8. So it does decrease over time. And then there are some like this one, which is resilience. Now this also increases like how much damage you can take, and it decreases how much ability for your ability. So like my shield, and actually it's just the shield because I believe this one decreases your melee. Yeah. So all these have different little things, and the top one is mobility, so you can move faster. So if you want to be a speed demon, you can increase this, and it doesn't increase until you go through a tier. So it's 28 out of 100. So if I have 2 more points, I can get to 30, and then I'll have a 12% increase rather than an 8% base speed increase. So all that gets affected with mods, and if you increase it up to a masterwork, because that also raises all these by 2. Every single one of these go up by 2 when you have it as a masterwork. But yeah, that'll be good for right now. I'll go more into what exactly Charged with Light is, because that one's a little more complicated, and those are specific mods, but they help out a lot. I kind of touched base on it, but like that's more of a you need to see it to understand kind of thing. But yeah, that's how you upgrade your weapon. That's what a masterwork does, and that's what mods are for on this game. Pretty big stuff. It's kind of complicated, but once you kind of get used to reading and understanding like the energy types and how to switch through them and whatnot, it makes things a lot better. There's one last thing, and that's this. I didn't hit on it early. I just kind of like, hey, there's something in here. This right here, as you upgrade, which mine's maxed out now, but you can reset it. It gives you the choice of choosing mods in here. So at the very beginning when you reset, it'll have an availability of what you want. And I always choose all these, and the reason being is these are all for champions. So like the triangle, if you look behind it, you can kind of see the triangle symbol. You can see the circle, and you can see the square. And those all are for the three different champions. So this one's for the anti-barrier. This one's for the champion of the overload. And then this one right here is for the unstoppable champions. So and it even says it on here: strong against barrier champions, strong against overload champions, strong against unstoppable champions. And that comes in so handy when you're doing higher difficulty things. You might run into them randomly on like a planet, but 90% of the time you'll only run into these things and champions on Nightfall and higher difficulties. I've ran into maybe 2 or 3 of them on like 2 planets, Titan and IO currently. That will probably switch because IO's not even going to be there, and I don't think Titan is after the season ends. But that is what these are for. And then of course you go in and like this one increases your target acquisition, again, like kind of aim assist on like certain weapons. This one, sword, gets larger ammo when you kill. You get larger bonus reserves when you pick up ammo. Sorry, so you get more ammo when you pick it up. Um, this one increases the knocking speed of bows, which I probably should have that. And increases glimmer in the sword department. This one increases glimmer in the auto rifles or submachine guns. This one is a charge with light, depending on the types that you kill of champions. This one also staggers the unstoppable champions by literally punching them in the face. And these all right here, if you look, that 6 energy, 6 energy, these all do different things, like a void grenade. This is for a solar melee. This is for a finisher. But you can read through it, and like it costs 30,000 to reset, but I'll do it just to show you real fast. When you reset this, you can start it out and see it starts out like this, and then I like all these. So you go through it. Now I have all these mods available. You can continue going. Like greater ammo reserve is good. Now, I don't really care for the glimmer as much as I used to, and this whole entire branch right here is basically glimmer. So I'll switch it. Now I can have, if I have like an extra slot, I can do knocking speed. And then like that. So I'm going to get rid of, I'm going to just skip this. Ain't no big deal. As you can see, it keeps increasing. And I like this one. And then say like I use pulse rifles. So I can use that. I still like this. And now I'm done. I can't do anymore. So I've chosen all the ones I can. So I could switch out some of these and put them from over here or something as well. And it's just up to you. And once you have them all done, you then can, again, that's what you can equip. Now, if they're already equipped and you just reset, this will not be highlighted anymore, and you'd have to choose something else. Like that's not active anymore. But yeah, there you go. That's pretty much how mods, how they work, how you upgrade weapons versus infuse. Just to reiterate, infusing is to increase the power level. Upgrading is to get a masterwork, which increases the stats and like gives you a little more customization on it. It also, on weapons, I didn't cover this so real fast, it generates orbs on killing enemies, which is really nice. That's the orbs of light. So you want these for later on because that's sometimes how you get charged with light. But orbs, when you generate orbs of light, it increases how fast your cooldowns go. It increases your super. It's just nice to pick those up constantly in general. So Masterworks are really nice to have on your weapons. And of course, if you have a Masterwork armor like I just showed, it increases everything by 2. So that's a thing. And that's how you upgrade everything, and you customize everything, the crap out of them with the mods. and just costs a little bit of glimmer besides the upgrades. The upgrades can be, and this is where the big part of the game comes in, because everybody wants to upgrade and have good Masterworks and whatnot. But that'll do it. That'll do for this one. Hopefully this wasn't too long, but hope you all have a good day.